The current conflict between Israel and its neighbors is the latest chapter in a century-long struggle. To understand the present, we must look back to the early 20th century. The land now encompassing Israel and the Palestinian territories was then under Ottoman rule. Jewish immigration increased, fueled by Zionism, a movement advocating for a Jewish homeland. After World War I, Britain gained control of Palestine. Tensions grew between the existing Arab population and the growing Jewish community. The 1947 UN partition plan proposed separate Jewish and Arab states. Violence erupted. In 1948, Israel declared independence, triggering war with neighboring Arab states. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled, becoming refugees. This event, known as the Nakba, remains a core wound. Israel emerged victorious, expanding its territory beyond the UN-designated borders. Subsequent decades saw further wars and uprisings. The 1967 Six-Day War resulted in Israel's capture of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and Golan Heights. This occupation and the expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank remain major points of contention. Peace efforts have been intermittent and largely unsuccessful. The current conflict erupted on October 7, 2023, with a surprise attack by Hamas, the militant group controlling Gaza. Hamas fighters infiltrated southern Israel, killing civilians and abducting hostages. Israel responded with massive airstrikes on Gaza, targeting Hamas infrastructure and personnel. The conflict quickly spread to Lebanon, where Hezbollah, an Iran-backed Shiite militant group, launched rockets into Israel. Israel retaliated with strikes on Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon. The fighting has displaced thousands of Lebanese civilians. Iran, a key backer of both Hamas and Hezbollah, has condemned Israel's actions and threatened retaliation if the conflict escalates. This has raised fears of a wider regional war. The involvement of multiple actors, each with their own agendas and alliances, makes the situation extremely volatile. The international community has reacted with alarm to the escalating violence. The UN Security Council has called for an immediate ceasefire. Deep divisions remain, hindering a unified response. The United States supports Israel's right to defend itself. Calls within the U.S. urge a more balanced approach. The conflict has triggered a humanitarian crisis in both Gaza and Lebanon. In Gaza, Israeli airstrikes have caused widespread destruction, targeting Hamas infrastructure, but also impacting civilian areas. Hospitals are overwhelmed, and there are shortages of essential supplies. The blockade of Gaza, in place since Hamas's takeover in 2007, has exacerbated the humanitarian situation. The blockade restricts the flow of goods and people, severely impacting the lives of ordinary Gazans. The UN has warned of a looming humanitarian catastrophe. In Lebanon, thousands of civilians have been displaced by the fighting in the south. Many have fled to Beirut, seeking refuge in schools and mosques. The Lebanese government, already grappling with an economic crisis, is struggling to cope with the influx of displaced people. The current conflict has the potential to spiral into a wider regional war. The involvement of Iran, Hezbollah, and other armed groups raises the stakes considerably. Miscalculation or misjudgment by any party could have catastrophic consequences. Israel has threatened a ground invasion of Gaza, a move that would likely result in heavy casualties on both sides. Such an invasion could also draw Hezbollah more directly into the conflict, leading to a wider war between Israel and Lebanon. The international community must act urgently to prevent further escalation. Diplomatic efforts should focus on securing an immediate ceasefire, followed by negotiations aimed at addressing the root causes of the conflict. Failure to act decisively risks a conflagration with devastating regional and global implications.